everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Blu Ray Hunter Reviews. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, the Blu Ray Hunter, and I'm here with a guest. I have never done any of this. I've never done this with a guest. It's usually just me doing things whenever I can, but I decided to have this guest on because, well, we'll get into it in a little bit. Please welcome John Ward.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, other than us doing the pickups, you're generally not on Blu-ray Hunter. And Top 20 Thursdays you were on, and I think, yeah, if we were to discuss Blu-ray stuff, yeah. But this, so I decided to do this movie Head, which is the monkey's head.
And you actually have two arms out of your head.
I do. I do. They look like
You
little
Peter,
horns.
yeah, Peter Tork's arms are coming out of your head.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I found out my dad actually got taught by Peter's Tork's dad in
Oh,
school, in college. He was his professor,
oh, okay.
Torkelson, that's his real
Yeah,
name.
Peter Torkelson. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if the dad's name is or whatever, or what he exactly taught or whatever, but I just heard that today and I was like, that's interesting, kind of cool.
Well, yeah, because
Um,
then Peter became a teacher himself.
because I
After
read
the
that.
monkeys. Yeah, during the 70s.
Yeah, I read that, I think, and a lot of them probably that's a lot of what they wanted to do anyway, like they want to do regular jobs after this, but anyway, to go kind of into it. So, John is a huge Monkees fan. Like, I'm probably the only one I know is like
Massive.
hugest one. And so I messaged him and told him I was doing this. So this is actually a Criterion film, but it was there's just so many Criterion films. I can't do it for Criterion Watch because it's just like there's just so many out there. So I was like, what can I do this for? I thought Blu-ray Hunter reviews. And so I'll show this off. I'm gonna to take this out real quick. This so I can show you I might let's see. I'm gonna go. Are you gonna see a bunch of okay, there we go. So this is what I have. It's called Lost America Lost and Found, the BBS story, and I just found out. Do you know what BBS stands for?
America Lost and Found. No, I don't know.
It stands for Bert, Bob, and Steve. Those are the founders of the BBS company, and
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah,
Bob
yeah.
being one of them. Bob being Bob
Yeah,
Raffleson.
Robert Rapp or Bob Raffleson. There's Bert Schneider, and I
Mm,
don't know who the Steve
Steve
person is.
something or other. I don't know if it's yeah, Bert Schneider. It doesn't say what Steve it is. But so Bert, yeah, they were the founders of this, and there's a on this particular one. I don't have the disc in there because the disc is actually uh in my Blu-ray player or 4K player. But if you look over here, it's got some kind of cool stuff going on there, and they have like special features, including a audio commentary featuring the monkeys. Um, New video interview, the one you showed me, with Bob Raffleson, that's on here. And then new documentary about the BBS featuring critic David Thompson and historian Douglas Brinkley. I was watching some of that. I didn't get a chance to finish it, but I was listening to some of it. It's just interesting. And we'll go into a little bit of that. And then screen test with the monkeys, which you saw a little bit of in that documentary, in that mini documentary.
Yeah, the
Trailer.
I'm sorry, the one with Michael Nesmith and Mickey have been out there for decades. That those are famous. They're on the first episode on like the pilot, but the ones with
Yeah.
Peter Tork, I'm sorry, not I'm sorry, Mickey and Davy are the ones that are. God, what I'm fucking this up. God, what do I know? They're okay. So the screen tests that are on the pilot, that is Davy and Mike. And then the
Mike, I
two
think,
that were
yeah.
found a while back, they then released the Mickey and Peter ones. There we go.
Okay. Yeah, because they were talking about that on the documentary about how they use the screen test into the pilot to show off how like sort of sweet and sincere they actually are
Yeah,
and
because the
endearing.
pilot bombed.
Yeah.
during a testing. It was like the worst tested pilot ever. And then Robson re-edited the film, put in 2 of the screen tests, and then it was the highest rated for like Cool Gyms.
And then it
So yeah.
says there's trailers and TV and radio spots. That's kind of cool. But it also has ephemera, including behind the scenes photos by Henry Diltz, and a rare 1968 television interview with the Monkees. So got a lot of stuff for this. So I don't know, do you have this yourself? Do you have this box?
No, normally I would be the one showing off something, and I have nothing to show off. I have been, just to give some people an idea, I've been a Monkees fan since I was 10, which was the 10-year anniversary of the Monkees. And so I'd come home from school and watch the TV show every single day. I had an 8-track tape of the Monkees, their greatest hits, and it was a 2 vinyl set if it came out
Hmm.
of so on record. So it was pretty long, and I only knew the TV show. So I didn't even know all the songs they did afterwards. I'm like, what are these songs? These aren't even on the show. And I never knew until, I got older and did more research and more became available, that the Monkees have always been there. They've
Hmm.
never disappeared, even though you know, like we said, Peter went off to be a teacher, but he also had his own bands and recorded music. Mickey and Davey went off to do, like plays, and Mickey became a director. Mike, of course, ended up inheriting his mother's liquid whiteout fortune. He got that when he was 25 because his mom invented liquid
You
whiteout.
said Michael, right?
Yeah, Michael Nesmith. And so he inherited that, which then he created public Pacific Arts.
Cool.
And then Peter, then who was it, yeah, then like Davey, he did plays and music and acting and all of that. So they've always been here. They've
So
always done stuff.
it's interesting because I don't know if you ever watched, I know you don't like, I'm sure because you're too old for it, but like Boy Meets World, the TV show. But
I
all
watched those
you
with them
watched
on
those, the
it.
Monkees one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So was it Peter Tork had played Topanga's dad in the show. And then I think they couldn't get him for like one other episode, so there was somebody else who played Topanga's dad like later, but they had him for like 2 episodes. And so and I'm my guess is they asked him, they said, we got you, is there any chance at some point we could get the other guys, so they have a episode, the episode you saw, that I don't know if a lot of people know this. There's an episode where it's the Corey's parents anniversary, and they need to throw a party or whatever, and things fall through or whatever, and they're at this club, and or at the bar that they hang out at or whatever, and they say, we need a band, and one of the Monkees pops up, says, I can play this. Oh, the other one, and they're only missing one of them, which was Michael. Michael had declined and said he wouldn't, it was
He
interested.
yeah, he declined pretty much everything up until when the Justice album came out. So and then that went sour. So
Right.
that was like 96. And then they came out with like a TV special, a documentary, a new album, and they toured the UK. And
All without
then,
him,
no, with him.
with him.
And that was all with him. And then when he came back to the States, he's like, yeah, I'm not going to tour anymore. So he fucked over all the American fans who bought tickets. So I've never seen them all 4 together.
Sadly, you will never see them all 4 together because
No, no.
only one
And
around still alive is Mickey.
yeah, and it wasn't until Davy's death that Mike decided to really become a Monkee again. And the theory was is that they just didn't like each other. They didn't get along. Davy kind of controlled everything, and then once he passed away, Mike could control it again because he
Right.
was, technically the leader. And so I got to see them that way. So I've seen every tour that they did up until Nesmith's death from 86 on. I've driven 6 hours.
It was nice to hear them do like My Girl. That's the song they did on it, and so it was neat. It was neat to see them. And if you're a Monkees fan, and I think my favorite character was Davy's character in the Boy Meets World thing, where he's just like this Reginald guy who follows people and whatever. It's cute. It was cute, and so as a fan, and on that episode. It was 95 that came out. In that episode, what is it? Ethan Suplee's in the show, right? He is a big part of that show. He had gone off to do Mallrats, and Tom Topanga at one point randomly calls Ethan Suplee's character Frankie a Mallrat. You Mallrat.
Oh, well,
And
there you go.
it was just a nice little, because that was his biggest thing he had done, yet or whatever. So I think they were all proud of him for getting out there and, doing that. You
Right.
know what I mean? So, anyway, it's a different thing, but
Completely different thing.
I just thought it would be
Stay
funny
on
to mention.
target. Stay on target.
Hey, we're talking
Uh,
about that Boy Meets World episode. It's the
um,
same episode.
I will say this before somebody corrects me, maybe in the comments, is Nesmith was with them off and on. So he, like in 86, he did an encore with them of 2 songs in LA. And then in 87, he did. In 89, I believe he did one concert with them. So he did appear with them. But he kind of wanted to leave the whole monkey thing behind, and
Mm,
he created Pacific Arts, and along with his mother, uh creating Liquid Whiteout. um he was the guy who created MTV,
cool.
and he went to Warner Brothers and said, I want to create this channel called Music Television, and it's going to be operas, plays, classical music. It's going to be all that. And they're like, great, we'll buy it. And then they turned it into MTV.
Mm.
And so he was interviewed, and the interviewer asked, did you get mad that they completely changed your idea? And he's like, well, their check didn't bounce. So,
And
and
that's the appropriate answer, right?
yeah, and there was one of the shows that he did the encore with, a young MTV interviewer asked him, like, she names a couple of the things that he's done, and she goes, what else have you done? And he goes, you work for MTV, right? And she's like, yeah. He goes, go ask your boss. Because she has no idea that he created it. He was also the first MTV Video Award. They created the MTV Video Awards to give him the first one for Elephant Parts,
Nice.
which was music videos, comedy sketches. It was about an hour long, and it won the very first award.
That is awesome. Um,
Yeah,
so on this whole thing here, on this whole big box set,
that's a great box set.
oh, I forgot to put that out there too. Um, it's fantastic. I got this half off on the Barnes and Noble sale, and it was like probably like $100, so I probably spent $50 on it or something, kind of thing. And it was well worth it. I was happy because it doesn't just have Head, but also has Easy Rider, which is another BBS. I guess all of these are BBS. There's one I'm gonna talk to you about because I'm not sure if it's a PBS production. But the other one that Bob Rafelson did after Head, he also did Five Easy Pieces, which I need
Also
to
did
fully
Easy
watch.
Ride.
I
Yeah,
watched some of it. To me, it's a little slow. It's a slow burn, kind of movie. And I couldn't necessarily get into it the first time I watched it, but I never finished it, but I'm going to because I want to watch all of the Criterion films. It's another reason why I picked Head, because I want to get that. I want to get these done, you know. And these two I've not seen yet at all, but I want to see soon is Drive, he said, and A Safe Place.
yeah. Those
So
I don't know.
Jack Nicholson directed Drive, he said. And Henry Jaglom, Jaglom,
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yavlom.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he directed A Safe Place. And Orson Welles and Tuesday Weld are in the movie.
Oh sweet.
So yeah, and Drive, he said, has William Tepper, Karen Black, Michael Margada, Bruce Stern, Robert Town, Henry Jaglom, and Mike Warren. It's the people. So I'm interested in checking that out because I have no idea what that's about. Um, Now this is the one I think, like, I'm like, is this a PBS production? Because it doesn't even say it on it, does it? Oh, it does say it. Okay, so it does say it is a PBS production. Is The Last Picture Show.
Oh yeah,
And then the last but not
yeah.
least is another
Peter
Bob
Bogdanovich.
Raffleson movie, and it's King of Marvin Gardens, also starring Jack Nicholson, Bruce Dern, Ellen Burstyn, who was just in the new Exorcist movie again. So,
Ugh, God, we won't talk
and
about that.
yeah, that's a whole nother discussion. So this is the a little bit of a whole
Nice,
booklet you get with it, and it even has a whole thing on head. Like you can see there, it's got pictures and
nice.
yeah. So it is an incredible box set. Probably my one of my favorite that I own because uh we'll talk about it, but these movies are what sort of changed the landscape of what can be done in Hollywood.
Well, if the monkeys were never here, Easy Rider would not exist because
Mhm.
that's Easy Rider is created from monkey money. So it's I don't know if you when you watched Ted, did you keep an eye on the when Peter punches the waitress?
I saw that he punched the waitress and she was a man.
Okay, because Jack Nicholson is in that scene, and so
Oh,
is Dennis Hopper.
did not see that. No.
And he Dennis Hopper is in the clothes that he wore in Easy Rider.
Cool.
So it's that they were already prepping for Easy Rider while they were making Head, because
Now,
that was the goal, was to make a movie.
now, did Jack Nicholson tell the waitress to put the sandwich between her legs?
No, he did not. He did not speak to the waitress, who ended up being a man. So he yeah ended up being a female impersonator.
That was
So
probably the best part of Five Easy Pieces. That's like probably everybody's favorite scene in the movie is just
I
like
haven't
I
seen
don't.
that in so long.
He tells like the waitress, he's like, I want this and whatever. She was like, what do you want me to do with I think the chicken or something? He was like, I want you to put it between your legs. you know, because like, stuff you could not say to a woman now, that's not
No, you
appropriate.
shouldn't have back then, but
You shouldn't
definitely
even
not
back
now.
then,
No,
no, yeah, and stuff like that. Because he's like, I don't, because he was telling her like, she didn't care what she did with it. He was like, I want you to put it between your legs, And I was just like, that's so fucked up. Five Easy Pieces. I need to rewatch, but all the way through. But I did like it. When I saw all of it
I
and
I,
everything.
rem- I remember liking it. So it's yeah, all those early Raffleson films all have Nicholson because
Yeah,
they were
they're
friends. They
buddies.
they met at a film festival. They had the same taste, and before that, Nicholson was doing the Roger Corman movies.
Hmm.
So he wasn't even really known, and the monkeys didn't know who he was. And according
Jack
to
Nicholson didn't know who the monkeys were.
yeah, so I mean, which I find hard to believe since they were like at that point like as big, if not bigger,
I'm
for two
not.
years than the
I
Beatles.
think he only cared
But
about the Lakers.
yeah,
Still as he still does. Like
yeah, even if the Lakers didn't exist back then, but I
did
don't know
they
when
not?
they.
Okay, I don't know
Well,
when they started.
1968. I don't know when they started, but yeah, that does seem to be his thing. So,
Yeah,
but
I'm
but
surprised.
he
You've been watching the show, right? Like
yeah
that
yeah
they
the
did.
Lakers show.
Have you been looking in the audience to see if there's a young Jack Nicholson, like somebody pretending to be the young Jack
Yeah,
Nicholson?
yeah, it's a guy, and he's supposed to be Jack Nicholson, and he's in like two or three episodes, and
Okay,
and and
cool.
yeah, and they would go up and go, "Hey Jack, how's it going?" And the guy would do the Jack voice.
For real? Is that
So
real?
yeah,
Oh my God, that's awesome. Winning
yeah,
time. Go watch that. I
Prime
watched
time,
the
yeah.
first season. I have not seen the second
I'll
season
I'll
yet.
make this fast because I want to stay on target. But it's now over. It's only 3 seasons. It ended with Michael Jordan getting HIV, and that's it. It
Wait,
just ends.
wait. I thought this was the second season.
No, this is the third.
What? Are you kidding me? No, this is
No.
only 2 seasons of it. I'm looking this up because no, there's only 2 seasons. This is only the
Or is there
second
only
season. Yeah, it's only two.
all right, well then there's only 2 seasons. So
Yeah,
it ended with HIV, and that's it. I guess they're not doing any more.
maybe they
And which I
will.
thought no, they already did the little things at the very end where oh, this happened to this character, and this is what happened to Larry
I thought
Bird,
that's
and
what
this is
happened at
what.
the end of the first season.
So I don't remember that at the end.
I thought
That's normally when something ends, you do that. You wouldn't do it on a part one and then make part two because you already
I
know
thought
what
I
happens.
literally thought that's what they did in the first part. But whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't care if it's 2 or 3 seasons or whether I don't give a shit. It's just disappointing that it ended the way that it did.
Yeah.
So because it could have gone on, because I did watch a documentary on Bird and Jordan, and there is some really interesting stuff that happens after that. So, but whatever. But so what did you think of Head?
The movie that we're supposed to be reviewing?
Yes, I would like to review that and talk about it at some point.
Okay, so yeah, so I think you said you go down a trippy kind of like psychedelic,
Well,
thing or
that was the
something.
phrase back in the 60s, was magic carpet ride.
Yeah, Magic
So
Carpet
yeah,
Ride.
which is getting high or being on acid or
It did feel like I was on acid. I mean, I was just like, oh, my ADHD was going crazy. It just like that. There's a lot
it has
going on.
MTV directing before MTV was even around, or
Pretty
editing,
much. Yeah, the
editing.
editing was very like cut, 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 quick, stuff or whatever.
Well, to give a brief thing, so the Beatles were a hit. They weren't touring, or they were just doing albums. Rafson and Schneider said we want to make movies, but TV seems to be the way to go. And so they said, why don't we make an American Beatles? And the Monkees rolled around. Ton of people auditioned. The first season was a mega hit. The second season was also a huge hit. Their albums were number one until Sergeant Pepper came out. Then it got bumped down to number two. That was their third album.
Yeah, the Beatles
Um,
bumped them down.
and yeah, I mean, it was Headquarters. Their third album was number one
So
for
they
like
beat
two
the
weeks.
Beach Boys though at that time. They
They were
were,
number one. Yeah,
yeah, that's crazy.
everything was number one. And concerts all sold out. The concerts were only like 30 minutes, compared to today.
I mean, and
Um,
these were real music too. This wasn't like parody of this isn't like the
no,
Ruddles or whatever, where Rudels, whatever it's
the
called,
Rebels.
where
Yeah.
they're parodying the Beatles. It's more or less they're just making another Beatles.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, the whole reason why Davey was brought in is he was still under contract, and so they said, "Oh, look, he looks like one of the Beatles, so we'll give him the Beatles haircut. He'll be the British guy." And then Mickey Dolenz was already under contract, so both of them just auditioned, just because like they had to, but
Right,
they already had the part. And then Peter got the part because of Steven Stills, who had bad hair and bad teeth.
right.
So they asked him, "Do you have anybody who looks like you?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, my friend Peter Tork." And then Nesmith was also under Cold Gems, and he had already released some singles, but he was known as Wool Hat because whenever he would go into the auditions, he would always have his wool hat on. But the show was a massive hit, and then second season was a lot more free. So there's more jump cuts. The stories are stranger. The editing is weirder. There's a lot
Hmm.
more ad libbing, but it was still a hit. And it really wasn't until the end of the second season that the album, The Birds, the Bees, and the Monkees, was number three. And then it was kind of like, uh-oh. And they were only signed up for 2 seasons anyways, and nobody wanted to do a third. Peter has now said that they probably should have done a third. And they wanted to do, if they did do a third, they do a variety show, which
Okay.
was then big only a couple of years later with like Laughing and all this type of stuff. And so, of course, Rapson and Schneider wanted to make movies, and so they did Head. which bombed. I mean, bombed horribly. And inside your disc, there's that black and white head.
Mm-hmm.
That was the poster.
Okay.
That was the original poster. It just simply said head with the guy. And then there were trailers on like TV where it was just filming the guy's face. And it would just say head.
Right.
And it's you can get a lot of that stuff. That's the great thing about Monkee fans is we will collect everything that deals with music. And so all those radio ads and TV, trailers and all that stuff are on like bootleg discs.
Well, it's on here too, I think.
So
Yeah,
I mean that's eventually they became more public.
Yeah.
But originally they were done more through bootlegs, especially since Rhino re-released everything.
Rhino,
And,
wow.
Yeah, Rhino Records. So but the show, the show was a hit. Their very last episode was them fighting a pot monster, like a pot alien. It's a great episode. It's directed by Mickey Dolenz, and they're fighting the wizard Glick, who is basically he's supposed to be like Don Kirshner, who is the music supervisor for the first two albums, and he was the man with the golden ear, and he rarely let them play their own instruments. He rarely let them write their own songs, and basically the Monkees said, if you can either keep him or me or us. And they fired Kirshner and they kept the Monkees. And then from the third album on, they could do whatever they wanted.
Right.
So their fourth album is their best one. Pisces Aquarius Jones LTD is their best album because they figured it was a combination of like songs written by them and other people, instruments played by them and other people. And this combination of everything, this collection, that was the best way to do it. And that's their best album. It has some of their best music on it. But Head, when it came out, people walked out. They demanded their money back. It begins with Mickey Dolenz committing suicide. Like how do you start a movie that's that's aimed at teeny boppers, and the movie starts with Mickey Dolenz committing suicide?
Yeah, him jumping off the bridge.
Yeah, and then it goes to a groupie that's making out with all the Monkees, and then
Yeah,
Mike's like,
that was kind of funny.
yeah, and it's like,
Right.
okay, well, who was the best? I would probably say Davey was the best because the doors opened and the doves all flew up, and I mean, and she's like, even. So now we're going to the next scene where they're basically making out with a groupie, and they talk about war in this because the Vietnam War was
They
going
also
on. It's
said something about
1968.
it said something like either somebody like a narrator or somebody was like the beginning is going to be like the end, right? Like you'll understand everything by the end of the.
That's the Monkees. That's that point where all the little TV screens come up and they say, hey, we are the Monkees, and it goes into talking about how they're plastic and the end is the beginning, and it's a whole thing. On the soundtrack for Head, which Rhino Records did a big collection on, there you could hear Jack Nicholson because he was the music supervisor. So you could hear him in the studio going like, Mickey, let's do another take of this. And then his voice is on everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so he was a huge part of Head, which is why it's funny is when Wolf came out, I went to a Fangoria convention. Jack Nicholson was there and he was promoting Wolf. He would not sign autographs. He came in just to talk about Wolf and leave. Everybody that was outside as his limo pulled up and he was walking down, held up stuff like The Shining, Batman. He just walked right past them. I'm so stupid I got rid of this. It'd be worth like $1 billion right now. I held out a Head album and it just says Head. And it says, I'm sorry, Monkees, and then Head. And it has like a tinfoil cover. So when you look at it, you're looking at your own head. I had all 4 Monkees autograph it.
Wait. You had this and you don't have it anymore?
I sold it. I needed money. Like I couldn't pay rent or something. So I sold it.
Jesus.
This thing would be worth, now that 3 of the Monkees are dead, this thing would be worth $1 gazillion. And my record, I think one other person got an autograph. I think he saw it shining in his face and he took it in my pen and Jack Nicholson, and he just handed it back to me. Or he just thought it was cool that it was a Head album while everybody else had Shining and Batman and stuff that he signed a billion times. And I sold it. I sold all my stuff. I used to have autographs from everybody. And I sold it all over the years because I had to pay rent or whatever. So stupid. Like, I don't have any monkey stuff. It's all digital. Like, I have posters, the concert posters that I've bought from 86 on. And because I've been to every Monkees tour from
Wonder
86.
who has it now? Like, you sold it, but like I wonder if they sold it to somebody. You know what I mean?
It probably sat on the wall. It was probably like $1,000 because Nicholson's name was on it. And then as each monkey died, if nobody bought it, it probably went to like 2,000, 3,000. It just kept getting higher and higher.
Yeah,
And
people kept selling it for more and more money.
yeah.
Man, but
And
that's great.
yeah, my entire room was the Monkees. I mean, it was just every poster. Now I only have the tour posters. And I did see Nesmith before he passed away. So I came full circle. And then I just got back only last month from seeing Mickey Dolenz live.
And you got
But
his autograph too, or
no, I don't really do autographs anymore. Plus he was in bad shape. He was really, he died only like a month later, maybe 2 months later.
wait, Mickey? Mickey's
No,
back?
Mike.
Oh, okay.
Mike.
I thought you were
That's
talking about Mickey. I was like, oh Jesus.
oh
No,
no no
so
no
you saw Mickey DeLenz recently. I thought you might have
yeah
got his autograph again too, but
no that's they used to let you, like, when I saw Michael Nesmith live in San Francisco, they said anybody who wants an autograph just wait at the back door, and you would do a line in their room, in like their dressing room with all the musicians. And of course, everybody just wanted Michael Nesmith. And so I brought a few things for him to sign. And that's what he signed my Head album, which had a default on it. That tinfoil thing, it popped up for some reason down the middle. And Nesmith played with it with his finger. He's like, huh. And I said, yeah, it's a defect. Yeah, I don't know why, but that's why I bought it. And so that's where I met him. Or when I saw Mickey and I think it was the three of them, maybe Mickey, Peter, and Davey live, you could go out to the back and they had actual RVs and you could just go right up and they would sign, give it back to you, and then they would move on. Now you can't get Mickey's autograph. You have to pay for it. You have to buy like a VIP.
Thanks, Linda Blair.
Yeah, thanks.
I think, she was the first person at a convention that said, I'm not giving away my autograph. You have to buy it,
Oh, wow.
stuff.
Okay.
You didn't know that?
No, I just know, like, and I'll make this fast. Like, my buddy Cliff, who's with, Scream Factory, back in the day, we went to a reunion Texas Chainsaw Massacre convention in Burbank.
Mm-hmm.
And that's right after part 2 came out. Everybody was there. Like, nobody was dead yet. Everybody was there. And you would just pay to get in. It's probably like $10. And you just go down the line. And everybody was signing stuff. And you could
for
talk
free,
to them,
right? Like, for
pictures.
free.
Yeah. You just paid to get in. And forget it now.
Nope.
No, it's ridiculous.
No,
so
nowadays it's prices go up, especially if you're like a big A-time actor, and I mean, Cameo, all these things you have to pay for,
Yeah. So with Head is when they made it, it bombed beyond belief. And that kind of, they were supposed to make 2 more movies. That ended. The next one turned into a TV special, which was aired the same night as the Academy Awards.
right?
And which destroyed that show. And it was called 33 and a third revolutions per monkey. It basically rehashed Head. Like, they were just in this whole thing of deconstructing them, because that's what Head is. It's the end of a band. It's the deconstructing of a band. And you get hints throughout that film. And they did the same thing in 33 and a third. After that, they did 2 more albums. Peter had left, and then Mike left, and then it was just Davey and Mickey. They fulfilled a contract. They did 1 more album, and then that was 1970, and they left. And then
how was that
reunion.
album just with those 2? Was it still good?
I think all their albums are good. Yeah, it was all still. Changes is their last album. and it's just with the two guys, and it's good. It's got some really good stuff on
I
it.
like that title with it being like two people, now changes.
Well, and the picture they show, it's Mickey and Davy, but Mike was over here, and they just cut Mike off,
That's
and
funny.
yeah, put their picture up. And then in 1976, the TV show came back. That was then they couldn't get the rights to the name, so it was Dolenz, Jones, Boyce, and Hart. So Tommy Boyce and Bobby Hart. So they had their own thing going, but they also wrote a lot of the Monkee songs, and they performed some of the instruments on the first two albums, and they were background singers. So the
Cool.
four of them went out on tour. The album bombed. But the tours were the
Was it
best-selling
a good
tours.
album? Did you like it?
Yeah, I like it. It's good. It's very 70s,
All
but
right.
it's good. All their stuff is good. They've never. The only cash grab that they really did was 1986. They did come out. I'm sorry, 1987. They came out with "Pool It." Mike was not involved in that one. That was a cash grab because 86 was huge for them. Basically, it saved MTV, and
Hmm.
then they were back on the air on
So
MTV,
Michael
and
did save them.
yes, in a way, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, by creating
yeah,
MTV, he saved
yeah,
them.
by creating MTV, yeah. And then
That's
it was,
interesting. I did not know he created that, so that's actually really neat.
yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that, and it's
There you
these
go, people.
guys,
Now you know it.
yeah. I mean, Nesmith created a lot, in his time. I mean, like he discovered Winona Ryder, because she was in I'm blanking on the film that she did with him, but it was like her first movie, and that was shot up in Marin County. And then, of course, he produced Repo Man, and that
Oh,
was Emilio Estevez.
it's also a Criterion.
Yeah, Tapeheads. He produced Tapeheads.
I know of the movie and stuff. I don't know. Um, if I'm correct, is that the movie with what's his name?
Tim
Uh,
Robbins and John Cusack.
yeah. So, uh, Chris Seaver, who we both have bought movies from and whatnot. He has created he when he created a ska band, his I guess first ska band, it was called Swanky Modes, which I think is a Tapeheads reference.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I,
that was
that's
that's his band or whatever that he
that's funny.
created for fun. But yeah, it was pretty neat.
Yeah, it gets into Vietnam, which no teeny bopper wants to see. It shows the violence of the Vietnam War. We even see a picture of a guy assassinating a Vietnamese man, and it's in all the little boxes in the screen, and you
Yeah,
see a
that was
girl.
crazy. Those
Yeah, this is a G-rated movie, and of course the football player, who I believe is a real football player, that's supposed to be America, number one, and but the Monkees have said that going to war, or going live on stage was like going to war, and eventually you do see them going from war into the Bronson Canyon, and onto the stage. And Davey has commented that when all the young girls and stuff get up on stage after they perform the song Circle Sky, which is one of their best songs. Mike wrote it. They did all the instruments on it. They performed. They did a concert where they did like 5 songs, and the ending song was Circle Sky, and they did it a few times. And so it was, I believe it was free because they were using it for the movie. And that's, once again, you're getting all that shots of Vietnam.
That's
And
awesome.
when they end the song, all the teeny boppers go up, and they're mannequins, and they pull
Yeah,
them apart. and
right.
and yeah, Davey has said that they were so big that they couldn't like go out because they would literally get their clothes ripped off.
And that was what Bob Rafelson talked about in that documentary that you watched, I think, too, is that that he said that when he did that, it was like the idea that these girls, these teeny boppers, would be listening to this music, and then they would storm the stage, and then they would rip off anything and everything. Didn't matter what it
Yeah,
was. They were just there to do that, and that's what they wanted to capture in that essence of what. And I mean, what they did with this movie was very interesting. it's not necessarily a movie that I'm gonna want to watch over and over and over again. You know what I mean? Like, I'd watch it more than once for sure, but like, it's not. I think you watch it probably a lot more than I would because
I've
you're
seen it at least 10 times. I've seen it, I think, 3 times in the theater on a midnight show.
right.
Edgar Wright is a massive Head fan. He used to go out and do tours with Phantom of the Paradise and Head as
Who
a
was
double feature. And then if you watch Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the band that's on stage that sings for like 2 seconds and then they stop, the girl's drum set says Head. I mean, I'm sorry, it
this
says
is
drum,
Drum? Yeah.
which is Mickey Dolenz drum set from Head.
Now, was it not in the Monkees? That was just for Head.
That was just for Head, yeah.
Okay, so in the Monkees, the drum actually looks different, right?
Mickey Dolenz drum, yeah, it's his drum set backwards. So he never knew how to play the drums. He knew guitar, but they needed a drummer, and people thought it was crazy at that time that a lead singer would be a drummer. And they set his drum set up backwards, so he learned the drums backwards.
Nice.
And so yeah, and it's there is an episode. It's the last episode of the first season called Monkees on Tour, and it follows them on tour. And they
Awesome.
talk a lot about that type of stuff, about
Kind
having
of
to
like
get in and
one of
out of police cars.
those little rock documentaries that you see, like you see it in some black and white, and the people are, you know what I mean? Like you see all these kind of cool rock documentaries where they talk to the band, they follow them from, place to place, and
Well, probably the one that's most associated with the Monkees, it's not a documentary per se, is This Is Spinal Tap.
right.
Mickey Dolenz used to wear, because it at some point it was like the 90s, is he started doing this weird thing where he would say the Monkees were like Spock. It's like if Leonard Nimoy actually turned into a Vulcan, and then he would wear the shirt that says Spinal Tap,
Hmm.
because it's like he didn't consider them to be a real band, and a lot of people got annoyed with that, and it's eventually he stopped, and Peter Tork on a documentary said, "Can you please stop comparing us to Leonard Nimoy and Spock? It's like we're a band." And Mike has even said, "Are the Monkees life imitating art, or is it art imitating life?" Because they started off as a TV show, but they wrote, produced, performed, made albums, went on tours, did a movie, and they're still performing today.
Hmm.
So is it just a TV show? Are they a band? I would say they're a band.
Well, if they actually went on tours, real tours, and sold out, and what, you know what I mean? Like people watch them. Yeah, they're a real band. And
Yeah, and
their songs aren't parodies
no,
of.
they're actually serious songs. Circle Sky is a serious song. The first song that's in Head, which is the Porpoise song, the theme to Head, if you really listen to it, you can hear things like riding giraffes for laughs is fun for a while. They talk about overdubbing. It's kind of like their version in a way of like A Day in a Life from the Beatles.
Hmm.
And then Peter Tork, it was great. He wrote one of the songs, and then he got to write and perform one of his songs, which is the Michael Nesmith song where they're all dancing, which is called "Do We Have to Do This All Over Again?" And there's so many things in there that if you're not a fan or don't know them very well, you wouldn't catch. Like Victor Matura being in it is supposed to be Don Kirshner, and which is why he's trying to step on them near the end of the movie. The black box that they get into is the black box that they would go to in between takes. So they would smoke pot in there, they would practice instruments, and there would be like lights that would turn on and off, and each monkey had a different color. So they would hang out in there, and then if blue went on, Nesmith would go out, and then he'd come back when he's done, and then yellow, and then Davy would come out, or three of them would light if they needed three of them at the same time. But that black box is in the movie is the metaphor for, and I
Right.
think it was like an old cooler that they would be in. There's there's just so much stuff in it. Like Mickey did comment one time with the ending of the film where all four monkeys jump off the bridge, is he said that he felt that the only way of not becoming a monkey anymore is if he committed suicide.
Right.
So there's that. And then it's one of these films where, you know, Davey had a temper and he did punch out Peter Tork. So it's so that's probably why they had him do the boxing segment. And you know, when Peter says in the ring, you know, Mickey, I'm the dummy, I always play the dummy, that's because he played the dummy on the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, you know, all the monkeys will say Peter was the only one who had to act, because Peter's not a dummy, he's like a genius. The guy can play like 10 instruments, he's classically trained. And it's there's so much stuff in this that if you talk to the monkeys, they'll even say they don't really know what the movie is about. They wrote it high, you know, they wrote it on acid. You know, Jack Nicholson was one of the writers, and he basically just followed them around for like a month. And they, you know, they went on vacation and just got high and drunk and all that stuff and talked into a tape recorder. And then they just narrowed it down and down and down, and until what we got. And there's, over the last couple of years, stuff has surfaced on YouTube, like cut scenes or behind the scenes. They show, there is a video that's the dancing scene with Davey with the black and white. So it starts off with him in like a black tux with a white shirt, and then it turns in the background is black, and then it goes to white where he's in a white tux with a black shirt. The woman who's the choreographer on that is Tony Basil, who did Mickey, the song Mickey. And that song is actually about Mickey Dolenz. And she did all the dancing stuff with Davey. And if you watch that scene closely, you'll see that the switching between the two colors is almost perfect. And that's because she did it so well. And the editing and the directing, and Davey, because he's a professional dancer, and also he's a jockey, that they could match it almost perfectly. And it's trippy to watch. But I mean, look at just the people that were in this. Terry Garr, that, you know, Victor Mature, Frank Zappa is in it. Who was on one of the last episodes of the Monkees. It's an episode with Michael Nesmith, where Nesmith is Frank Zappa and Zappa is Mike Nesmith.
Right.
And Mike's nose keeps falling off. It's a good episode. It's very funny. And Mike has commented that he wished that he had become better friends with Frank Zappa. But right. I mean, he was on one episode and you know, in the movie. So it really is a time I watch it, I get a little bit more out of it, because it really is. And Peter Tork has said, if Bob Rafelson wanted to film the destruction of a band, he did it.
Right.
So and so that's and
which is weird because he loved the Monkees, though, you know.
Yeah, but he wanted it to end too, because they, you know, they were so getting into Easy Rider, and that was it. Like it was a 2-year thing, and then they said, let's make a movie. And the Monkees, I know, were pretty mad that he left, because he pretty much abandoned them afterwards. And the Monkees went on to do a couple more albums. There's some really good stuff on those albums, and they did tour.
Sadly, he's no longer with us either, Bob.
Yeah, sadly, just all of them are passing away.
Except for Mickey, which I'm glad we still have him. I mean, I love his daughter, you know, and I'm glad that she still has her father, you know, around.
Yeah, he's released. I think is it out yet? I know he did a single for it, but he just did an EP of REM songs.
Nice.
And on the tour that I saw, he did Shiny Happy People.
Okay.
So it's him and his sister Coco, who was also involved in the Monkees.
Coco? Is that her real name?
Coco. Yeah, Coco Dolenz. And
that's cool. I've never.
Yeah.
I thought that's like a nickname you give somebody, not an actual like real name. So that's awesome.
Well, Mickey is not Mickey's name. It's George Michael Dolenz.
George Michael.
And he dropped the George and changed Michael to Mickey. which is weird, is in some interviews they'll say, why is there no E in Mickey? And he goes, oh, I guess my parents didn't like that vowel. But it's like, but no, but it's Michael, George Michael Dolenz.
Yeah.
So I don't know if his parents called him that, but he was on Circus Boy, and he was as Braddock was his last name on that one.
Hmm.
So it's a very interesting film to watch high. I did get high
Oh
once.
God, I would not want to.
Oh,
I think it
it's
would freak me the fuck out. I mean,
yeah. Two friends of mine and myself got high, like got high and drunk, and watched it. And it's also a movie that I've dragged all my friends to. Like if you become a new friend of mine, you're most likely going to watch Head. If you date me, you're going to watch Head. And it's just one of those things where you would never know that I'm a Monkees fan because I don't have any of the stuff. It's all digital. So I have like almost an entire hard drive of Monkees stuff, including all the TV specials.
Surprised you don't have any posters of the Monkees and stuff.
I do, but all of this back here, this whole wall was a Monkees wall. It had all their concert posters framed from '86 on. And I'm just like, I have too many movies. I'm sorry, Monkees posters, but I got to take you down and put up bookcases.
Oh,
so
Monkees posters.
Yeah, they're in a box in the back. They're all they're all done well.
When you get a bigger place, you'll be able to do it.
Yeah. Well, and the version of Head that I saw, which was I downloaded it from YouTube. It is the Criterion version, so it's the best probably if you don't own it.
Right.
It's the best way to watch it is that one because it is very clear, and the sound is really good too.
It was great. I mean, I enjoyed watching it for sure. It's a really trippy, weird fucking movie. Makes me excited to see the other movies, especially the ones you've never even seen or heard of, or whatever. Like Drive, you said,
two.
like, yeah, those just sound like a lot of fun. And I mean, I get to watch an Orson Welles movie, Orson not directed, but Orson movie that he's acted in that I've never, what I mean? Like that's cool to me. I really liked what BBS kind of stood for. And I really like this documentary, this mini documentary on the BBS story of how it sort of became, sort of what they were, the revolution of what, they were trying to do, and I think
1970, that was
Easy Rider was the movie that changed the way.
Yeah, because Hollywood was bombing.
Yeah.
Like nobody wanted Cleopatra or Ben-Hur, those giant movies anymore. And it really was the Roger Corman especially he just gripped onto that whole thing and did all of his biker movies and acid trip movies and
apparently
made a fortune off of those.
According to this documentary, Easy Rider was like they were wondering because Roger Corman did all those biker movies, but had nothing to do with Easy Rider. And those guys, Dennis Hopper and Fonda and Peter Fonda and Jack Nicholson, all were actors of Corman. They were Corman actors, and they were off making their own movie. And I think there was a little bit of like, contention between Roger Corman, because this could have been a Corman production, but it wasn't,
I think Bruce Dern ended up doing a couple for Corman.
Yeah.
Peter Fonda did a few, but I mean, Jack Nicholson has only good things to say about Roger Corman.
Right.
In some interviews about him.
I love him in Little Shop of Horrors because he did the Bill Murray part, or whatever. The idea of the masochist.
Without Nicholson being in that movie, it wouldn't have been funny with Bill Murray.
Yeah, I think it was more funny with Bill Murray because of the fact that, if you look at Jack Nicholson's performance, they're pretty close, like wonder how much Bill Murray was a fan of Little Shop of Horrors. Like
Bill Murray seems to be a little more childish in it, like all giddy, hopping up on the chair, while Nicholson is more sadistic and just wants, pain and pleasure and stuff like that. So it's
a little darker of a version, I guess, than the
and It's interesting how all of this just kind of worked out, and it's I really would like to see something like that monkeys, like a monkeys anthology, kind of like what they did with the Beatles,
Hmm.
because there is so much stuff that
I'm sure
nobody
that's
knows
out there
about.
still. Yeah.
Yeah, there's all these interviews that completely skip like the last couple of years of the monkeys. Oh yeah, they made a couple albums and that was it. It's like, no, that's their interesting time. That's when they couldn't get work. That's when
Well, I wonder.
Mickey
wh-
Dolenz tried out for the Fonz. He was actually their choice for the Fonz, and then
Really?
Henry Winkler got it. He was
I
like
mean,
right up there.
uh, so when I was watching it, I was like, Mickey DeLenz in this movie particularly looks so freaking young. Like he looks like a child compared to everybody else. Like all of them look older than him, and he looks like this little, like I don't know how old he was, probably 30 something or whatever, right?
In
Like,
head,
yeah, and
no,
head.
they're all early 20s.
Okay, there you go.
Davy was actually he was supposed to go to Vietnam,
Oh,
and they got him out of it. So yeah, he was drafted because he
oh
was that
wow.
age.
Uh,
And I believe Mike was the oldest, which was like probably by 68 was like 23,
I didn't know
24.
Hollywood could get you out of the draft. That's crazy.
When you're making that much money. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're like, we don't want
Oh yeah.
this is our cash cow. We need him, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Because well, and also Star Trek, Chekhov. So Davy came from the Beatles, Chekhov came from Davy Jones. So even though he's Russian, he looks like Davy Jones, and they gave him the Davy Jones hairdo
That's crazy.
because
I
they
didn't know
wanted to
that.
get the monkey fans to watch Star Trek.
Like
It,
Mookie, like that's
and
funny just to me to like think about. Like that's
yeah, I
crazy.
mean, everything comes from something. If you watch, it's on YouTube and it's uncut. I don't know who, I think one of like the Blu Ray companies that we like released it. So it's like a beautiful copy, but it's called Night of the Stranger. And it's from the director of Creature from Black Lake. Um, and it is so horribly racist. And Mickey stars in it.
Oh
And
wow.
I think this is like 74, maybe 75. The N word is said throughout the entire movie. It takes place in the South. It deals with a white girl dating a black guy who gets murdered for being black because he's dating a white girl.
No
It
Lord.
is one of those films that I don't even know if Mickey would talk about it anymore. But it is. I watched it because I saw that it was up. I'm like, oh, cool. So I downloaded it and was watching it on my TV. I'm like, oh my god! Like every like minute or two, all of a sudden this guy is just using the N word throughout the whole thing.
Yeeks.
But it's hilarious. I mean, it would be good for like one of your guys' video, like a
Shows.
first time watch or one
It's
of
a
those
horror
type of
film
things.
or what?
It's kind of a slasher film. It's kind of a revenge movie. It's but it's yeah, it's like a guy going around killing people, but it's not Friday the 13th type thing.
Kind of like
So
you ever seen Killer's Delight?
no,
We
I
had
don't.
her
I
watch
don't.
that for first time watch Friday, and James L. Edwards picked it out, and because it was well, he gave me a bunch to pick out, and I was like, that one sounds fun. It was on Tubi, so I could watch it. But it was interesting. It was like basically a 70s movie, and it was like a serial killer, on the loose or whatever. And I don't know who the killer was at that time, that they were maybe it was Dahmer or somebody that it seemed like, like he would pick up girls in a van and then just kill them and drop them off, like or whatever. It's an interesting movie. Really, I think I'd recommend it to people, you know.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff out there. I mean, especially on YouTube, all this stuff is out there now. I mean, probably 33 and a third is out there. All the episodes of the Monkees are out there, and they've included the ones too that have audio commentary. Head is out there. A lot of videos that they did are now available, and a
Well,
lot of concerts are too. Some of them are just audio, but some are also, the later ones are video. But
that's the
it's like I said, they've never left. They've always been here, but people never realized it.
yeah, well, this, like I said, this this Blu-ray has the commentary with the monkeys and stuff, and other interviews and whatnot. It is definitely worth it. Once again, please, if you guys really want just sort of history, film history in a box, that's what this is. I mean, almost every single one of these has special features. I mean, there's special features in Easy Rider, of course, and I think there's 2 audio commentaries on that one. Five Easy Pieces. There's none on the one that has 2. Sadly, there's no special features on that. But there's one of the Last Picture Show, which the Last Picture Show is getting its own 4K from Criterion coming up. So
Oh,
that's pretty
nice.
cool.
That should look
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. Oh man. So when I watched that for the first time a while ago, I was like, this is like beautifully filmed, black and white, like just gorgeous. And so I'm actually excited. I think I might in November when they have their sale, their Barnes and Noble sale, I'm buying that, and I think Princess Bride for 4K, which are 2 films I have on Blu-ray, but I'd rather have on 4K, just because I'm a fan of the movies. Last Picture Show is
Right.
great.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Oh,
anyway,
and something else that came out too. They Rhino. It's a good thing they did all this, since most of them are no longer here. But Rhino did a like a docu pic called "Daydream Believers: The Story of the Monkees."
mhm,
Mickey volunteered to direct it, and they said no. I guess he was more of just a consultant, but he does do audio commentary and
nice.
talks about that it's not. That's probably the only thing I own, because it's Roger Corman. Corman
Mm,
actually produced it, and then Rhino released it. But it's so not what happened, which is funny. Like there's only one guy that created the monkeys, so they combined, the 2 guys into one, which was lame. The guys who played the monkeys were pretty good. They actually kind of look like the monkeys. I think they were from tribute bands or something. But it's one of those things where it's only like 90 minutes, and all
What's
they
it
do is
called?
just Daydream Believers.
Oh,
But I think that's on YouTube also. But yeah, it's just all they did was just refilm stuff. And it's just like, no, but we have already seen the video for Daydream Believer with the original monkeys. I don't need for you guys to redo it.
right,
Tell me stuff I don't know.
right. I
So
wonder if
there's a
it's on Tubi.
and just to give people an idea, because I did bring this up on Wikipedia for Head, is so its budget was it's a 750,000. It only made 16.
Oh, only made 16?
Yeah,
Wow.
16,000. The
Oof.
original cut of the movie is 110, and they brought it down to 86.
So you weren't kidding when it was a bomb.
No,
Um,
it bombed really bad. Let's see who else is the Carol Doda is in it. Annette Funicello is in
Annette
it.
Funicello.
Sonny Liston,
Yep.
um, Timothy Carey,
Was
who's
Frankie Avalon in it too, or just Annette?
no, just in it, just her with her. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but when she's crying, a hand comes in from the side of the screen and removes it. It's like a guy's hand wipes it off of her face.
No, I
So that's the great thing about the monkeys, and like James Farley, who went on to do like the Muppet movie and other stuff, is they could do whatever they wanted on the show. It did, especially second season. First season has more stories. Like the monkeys are trying to get discovered and get onto the radio, and that's the whole episode. Or we need to pay our rent, so we got to get a temp job. But because they lived by the beach, and so they needed, they also had the monkey car. But season 2, it was just a free for all. They could battle aliens and whatever they wanted to. Frankenstein's monster or the Wolfman was in there. They could go race. They go to a racetrack and race cars. But it's all it's like nonsensical stuff, and that's what Head was too. Is you could have continuity errors and it wouldn't matter. It may not make sense because it doesn't have to.
yeah. Well, there you go. I think that about wraps it up. Is there anything else we left that you needed to
Oh
make
shit, man, I
sure
could
we
go on
talked
for
about.
I could go on forever about
I
the
know.
monkey. So yeah, you better
And
cut
I
me
think that
off.
might be the problem. I can't go on forever. I got some other things I got to do tonight. But I did love our discussion. You did bring a lot of stuff that I wasn't aware of that I think some other people may not be aware of too with this.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh well, I'll say this. There's when the monkeys went into the cafeteria on the studio, there was those like warnings that people were giving each other, like a gunfire or the reflection of the sun. And the monkeys said that when they would enter the cafeteria, people would leave because they were like hippies. They were just like these young punks, and that they would eat by themselves because nobody wanted to be around them.
oh, poor.
And that's what that whole scene was dedicated to, was just everybody leaving. Just they didn't. So there's all this stuff. I mean, it's like it could keep going on and on and on.
Yeah, there's a
But
lot to go with that
yeah,
movie, but once again, check out check out that box set so you can grab head as well as everything
yeah,
else.
I want that.
And understand I will probably be doing a couple more Criterion reviews. I might not be of those things, but I will do also probably a spotlight once I've seen all of these, do like a spotlight showcase thing where I just show off the box set and talk about each movie. Right now I can't really talk about each movie because I've only seen a few of them, but when I watch all of them, which I can't wait because by the end of the year, that's what I want to do is finish that and all the other Criterions that I haven't watched yet. And I think I have like 22 movies, so you gotta get to work, man.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh,
got
and have you seen Lost in America? Albert Brooks.
I watched Defending Your Life, but I haven't seen.
So it's based on Easy Rider. That's his
Nice,
whole premise for quitting his job, buying an RV with his wife, and driving cross country, is because he wants to be Easy Rider.
nice. There you go, Easy Rider movie. Like once again, because of that movie and because of a lot of other movies that were coming out about that time and other filmmakers, Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg, all
Oh,
these
70s were
people
the best for filmmakers.
all
I
these
mean,
people were going out there making their own movies. Francis Ford Coppola, like they were going out making their own movies, and doing the things that they needed, that they needed to get done by the studios. That nowadays we need that back. We need,
you're unfortunately we're never going to get that back, because the 70s to me was the time of directors. And you could find photos, you could just Google them, of it'd be like Lucas, Spielberg, Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, Brian De Palma, all having dinner together and supporting each other and working on each other's movies. Lucas and Brian De Palma were auditioning for Star Wars and Carrie at the exact same time, and all the actors from Star Wars would go and audition for Carrie.
yeah,
And so it just, and it would just, you don't get that anymore. You
nope.
don't get Spielberg and Coppola looking at Star Wars to say, do you like it?
Well, you did. You got that. I will disagree that that didn't go away because in the 90s we had Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez and Kevin Smith. All of them are actually really good friends and hang out. And Kevin Smith would
I don't think it's the
showed
same.
like Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez a cut of like Clerks 2, and get their impressions of things. So I mean we
There,
do sort of still have it.
I
It's
mean,
just not as big.
it's not. I don't. It's it. Yeah, I kind of agree, but it's not the same. I mean, you do have I guess the Miramax people, that all at that time hit, like you said, Tarantino, Rodriguez, Smith, and a few others. But it's like we'll never get the Universal monster movie guys back. It doesn't matter how many movies, Robert Englund does with, Tony Todd or whatever it is. You can have a movie that has five of the most famous guys in it.
Well, I mean, we did
It's
with
still
Hatchet.
not the
Hatchet
it's
was
still not the same as having Karloff and Lugosi and Cheney and Lon Chaney Jr. all in the same movie,
no,
knowing that all these guys know each other. And
right.
it's not the same. You're never going to get that back. And I do agree. Yeah, okay, I could see like Tarantino and Smith and stuff, sure, but it's not exactly
It's
the
not,
same
but
thing.
it's the
You're
best we can do right now because uh those are the directors that, at that time that were supporting each other and helping each other. Tarantino's helping Eli Roth out, a lot of these people were just, they were excited to see up and coming people and to support people. And nowadays it's like, um, you're right. It's not the time for directors. Like, because directors are sort of, because you know what the problem is? Hollywood's become TV. Movies have become television. Whether or not if we want to admit that, but like, a lot of the comic book stuff, like Marvel, they just say, okay, I want this director to replace this director, right? So Sam Raimi comes in and does Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness because he's just a good director. He's a fantastic director, but he's not, it's not about him anymore. You know, it's not
No,
Sam
the
Raimi's movie. You know, it's
yeah,
about the film. It's about the character, the
well,
superhero.
there are very few movies that draw people in because of the actor. Sadly, I have to say Will Smith is one of them. Nicolas Cage would be
Or he
one. Tom
was one of
Cruise
them. I
would
don't
be
know.
one.
Nowadays, he's yeah,
Now I don't know, but I mean, he's still a name out there, but
yeah.
nobody really cares unless it's people like you and me that care about the director. Like I messaged you the other day, going, God, I didn't know Fall of the House of Usher was Mike Flanagan, and it's like Mike Flanagan.
Mhm.
That's like, oh, I need to watch this,
Right.
but
And if it's
you
a Mike
don't.
Flanagan's movie or something, or promoted it like that, but now they don't do that. They just, and I think we need to get that back a little bit, is because when we had people like Bob Rafelson or Dennis Hopper or Jack Nicholson directing something, what I mean? People, Francis Ford Coppola, you put that name on there, you knew you were getting quality work. The closest thing I can say now is like Scorsese, still rocking it, and everything. And he even said, we need to make indie directors get out there more. Like these guys need to step up and direct something amazing that shifts the way the Hollywood perspective, and
I
everything.
think that's going to be difficult to do. Marvel did kind of do that, is that they're taking all of these indie people and having them direct the movies and the TV
John
shows,
Favreau. Yeah.
which they didn't have. Uh, um, they weren't qualified to do. The director who did the Eternals was not qualified, so she had a hit indie movie, and they're like, well, let's bring her on to do Eternals, and it was way over her head, and so that you don't just so that's not good to do. You need to get. I mean, John Favreau had already directed,
He
Swingers
directed good
and
stuff
Maid,
too.
and yeah, and
Made, and
then
then
he
he
well,
didn't direct Swingers, but he directed Made, and then he directed stuff like Zathura, which was not a hit. It's a pretty big bomb and
yeah,
stuff.
Doug
And
Liman did Swingers. Favreau was going to direct it, but yeah,
yeah,
it
but
was
he
Doug
had to
Liman,
act in it, and I think he just wanted to
act,
concentrate on that.
produce,
Yeah,
yeah, writer. But it's you like Favreau had already done stuff.
right,
So when they brought him on to do Iron Man, the reason he did Iron Man is because he was supposed to direct the Avengers,
right.
and that didn't. I don't know why that didn't happen, but I mean, he did direct
I,
other
I
stuff.
I think he did Iron Man 1 and 2, and then he didn't even do Iron Man 3.
Yeah,
So
Shane
I
Black.
don't know what necessarily happened. Maybe because he went into the Star Wars world too, like I don't know when that happened, like his, thing going right, he went from Marvels to Star Wars. I don't know. Anyway, the point is that we don't have a lot of and we have amazing directors. You said Mike Flanagan, uh, the Scott Derrickson, who did the first Doctor Strange. He's an amazing director. He's really good, but the problem is they're stuck doing these Hollywood big budget movies, and so it was really nice to hear, now that I think about it, like Scott Derrickson turning down working, or leaving Doctor Strange 2 so that he could work on the Black Phone, with Blumhouse, and that
Which is
movie
a film
became
I
a
would much rather watch.
Right, and that became a bigger hit, I think, in a way that, like that made a good amount of money, I think, compared. So I think it's a matter of like a choice of like, do you want to do what makes you happy, like when you make your movies or whatnot, and we need to get more people who are making these independent films that sort of make, like we mentioned Blumhouse. Blumhouse makes a movie for $1 million. They end up making $100 million, or $101 million. So you get like $100 million
Unless it's
profit.
The Exorcist Believer, which Universal bought for $400 million.
Well, they bought the rights to that, which just means to me that they're since that bombed, that they're probably going to make another they're going to do another Exorcist. It'll just be another sort of reboot, with a different director,
We'll see, yeah, because
probably not
David Gordon
Blumhouse. I don't
Green
think
is
Blumhouse would be involved.
Blumhouse put in some money into it, but they weren't the ones who did that was Universal, who
Yeah.
because they bought it from Morgan Creek. But it's God, we're getting way off topic. But it's to me that you have these people that are out there that do work together, Tarantino and Rodriguez, and then you even have like David Gordon Green and Danny McBride. You have all these people that do work together. It doesn't feel like the 70s. It doesn't feel
Well,
like
Judd Apatow, you had Judd Apatow for a while, and he was making
yeah,
movies with all
and
his
all those
buddies,
guys.
and
Yeah.
they were out there making, they were making things that were big hits, and everything. Now they've even fallen, and stuff. And I mean, the last movie I believe that fucking they did was the Bros, movie that Judd Apatow.
Oh God.
Yeah, yeah, that was the last one he produced. I mean, that just
Gay
shows
people
that
didn't even go see that.
I know, I'm just saying, like, they're falling on hard times right now because what's popular is is only
Because
the
my God, this is such a different video. It's because everything is so politically correct. I mean, it's all politics. If you don't go see Bros, you're against gay people. If you don't go see Charlie's Angels, you're against women. And women didn't even go to see Charlie's Angels. They actually did research on that, and the percentage of people who went to go see it more were men because
Mhm.
we wanted to see three hot chicks kick ass. And I know a few gay people who didn't see Bros or didn't like Bros. They actually found it to be insulting. So it's nobody wants to see that crap, and that's now why we're getting all of these reboots, including Marvel, who
didn't
just canceled everything.
didn't Elizabeth Banks like make some kind of speech and say something to and then she got corrected in the speech. I forgot exactly what she
Oh
said,
no,
but she
it's
said
it's her
something.
Spielberg speech.
Yeah, she
She
said, "Oh,
she
well, Spielberg didn't
Spielberg has never directed a movie starring a woman, and you can
yeah,
hear from the crowd the color purple.
yeah."
And she goes, well, and it's not the only one.
And then she
Sugarland
even said,
Express
"Oh,
with
he didn't
Goldie
direct
Hawn.
that, did he?" And they go, "Yeah, he did." And she's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, well, okay, I'm
shut
sorry
just
then."
shut up, shut up, just shut up. I mean, it's I don't understand why these people say stupid things, and why are you attacking Spielberg? What did Spielberg do to you?
Because he's white.
I guess
He's a white
so.
male, like that, and that sucks. Uh, and it sucks that he got attacked because he's done nothing. He's never said anything inappropriate. He's never been sort of rude about everything. In fact, I've heard, I know somebody actually worked with him and said he was the nicest, kindest director, just very easy to work with, kind of thing. Like,
It's because these people are stupid. It's like she also commented on Mission Impossible. She's
yeah.
like, well,
Oh, that's
I
your
would like to,
baby, man.
yeah. She's like, oh well, I can't even get to direct a Mission Impossible movie, and
You
it's like,
can't,
well,
because that's like
you
they're a tight
kind
group
of,
of people.
but okay, you had Charlie's Angels. I mean, come on, but it's you could see on all of those movies the same people over and
Yeah, that's what I'm
over
saying. That's a
and
tight knit
over.
group of people right there
Yeah,
that
it's this
work on them.
group that all work together, and you're
Yeah,
not part of that group. So make your own group.
Yeah,
you
start your
know,
own
work.
movies.
Yeah,
Like I
you
mean,
know,
Disney's doing that. They're trying to compete with Mission Impossible. So they're creating a bunch of chick go with them, go direct that movie, whatever they direct, because if Disney lets you in, like why
it's
not?
just people are stupid.
I
It's just
mean,
they're stupid.
I don't know. Anyway, to go back to this, I think that
Jennifer Lawrence saying that she's the first female action star. Yeah, ever heard of Ripley and Sarah Connor?
there's probably even more further than that,
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are just the ones that were brought up.
Or how about Angelina Jolie?
No,
Oh,
never made an action movie. Never made one according to
she
her.
never made this little movie called Tomb Raider. No,
No,
never
never
mind.
made Salt. No, no.
I don't know. I don't like whatever. People can say whatever they want. They're just to understand once you say something and it's recorded,
It's there.
it's game over.
Yeah.
So be careful what you say. Even what we just said, it's game over.
That's why actors and stuff should not be interviewed because they're pretty stupid. When it comes down to it, that's why they're actors.
Well, they're there to
So
do their part, and
there
and
are a
whatnot.
fair amount of actors that are smart, but a lot of them are dumb,
Yeah.
and they say dumb things. Just keep your mouth shut. Just be quiet and do your job.
And on that note, we're gonna head out.
Go
So
see Head. Everybody out there,
oh,
go
head
see
out. I
Head.
just said head out. I didn't even do that on purpose. We're going
Well,
to
what
head out.
what rating would you give this? Can we give Head a
Oh,
rating one out
I
of
don't
five?
do that on this, but out of
Well,
five
this is
stars, I would give this 4.5.
oh
Yeah.
sweet. Okay, because I'd
Yeah.
give it five. So
Yeah,
okay.
I figured you would give it a 5. I would give it a 4.5. I liked it a lot. I enjoyed a lot of like everything. I enjoyed everything. It was
Did you
just
like the music?
oh yeah, of course.
Did the music make you kind of want to? Hey, what else have the monkeys done? I mean, does it sound like kitty music, kitty pop music?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it was nice. It was nice. I liked it because it wasn't parody, it wasn't like, all you need is hey, eight, or something like that.
No,
Like it was nothing like, it wasn't a parody of the Beatles.
none of their music
It,
is
yeah,
a
and it
parody. None
wasn't
of it.
like supposed to be. It's supposed to be a real band who had a TV show. And, at that time, it was really funny because to go back to that Boy Meets World episode, they had the manager of the Partridge Family come up and say he wanted to
Oh, that's right.
manage the band and stuff and said he was tired of
But
having a mom in the van, you know.
who's so the Partridge Family is another one that
Yeah.
like Shirley Jones, and then the oldest son Keith, who played
Yeah.
Keith.
I don't
Keith
remember.
Partridge. I'm blanking on his name, but she was a musician and an actress, and he really only wanted to be a musician, and that was kind of his downfall. Is he had to keep playing Keith,
Was it David
and
Cassidy?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, yes,
Yep.
yes,
Yep. And
and
Susan Day and Danny
oh god,
Bonaducci.
good old Danny Bonaducci. God,
Dan
Susan Day was so hot. But the thing with David Cassidy, he had the monkeys issue. Is he a TV actor or is he a musician? So he had the girls throwing at him, but he never made it past, which then of course led to drugs and alcohol and and stuff like that. The Brady Bunch even did albums
By the way,
and
people,
went out on
Susan
tour.
Day is still alive. When he said she was so hot, he was talking about back in the day when she was younger or whatever, period. But
Well,
she's still
Partridge
alive.
Family, Looker, when she did the movie Looker and she has blonde hair, she was very attractive in that.
Yeah.
And plus, I like the Partridge Family. I thought it was good. But a lot of these people had the same problem as the monkeys are. How can we take them seriously if they're on a TV show? So we want you to sing pop hits, not some weird album that goes on for 6 hours. That some prog album.
Anytime I think of the Partridge Family, I think of Scream 2. Start singing that song, you know.
Oh, I think I love you.
I
That's a
think
that's a
I
good
love
song.
you,
Yeah, it's a
you
good one.
know. And he's singing it terribly because, and it's really his you could tell it's really his voice. And,
Oh yeah.
Jerry O'Connell. God, another actor I'd like to see do more stuff now. I'd like him to get bigger again. Because I haven't seen him in anything recently. you know. But
Yeah, I
well, you
haven't
can't
seen
see
any.
him do anything right now anyway because he has the strike. But till
That's
the
true.
strike is
That's true.
over. All right. Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate
Oh yeah, sure,
this,
sure. My pleasure.
and everybody else, check out Head. I gotta get going, but I wanted to say thank you guys, and check out next week. I have no idea what I'm doing next week, but it's gonna be one of the big, huge pile of movies here that I'm gonna be reviewing. So probably something closer to Halloween, since might be Halloween that comes out. So might have to do a horror movie on that, just because why not, right? You know.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Talk to you later.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.